What voters in Chicago, particularly teachers, are now realizing is that the policies that this man pushed and advocated for are leaving them high and dry. And it appears again that there's a demographic, a group that has been prioritized over and above the educators and the blacks in general. And once again, it seems to be the illegals. And I'm going to demonstrate why I say that. This post is from Austin Berg, and it says new. Chicago's Frederick Douglass Academy High School has 47 classrooms built to serve 1,008 kids, but only 27 are enrolled there. Now, we could just stop the show right there because you could just say, well, what you mean? How do you have a school that has 47 classrooms in it, and this school is designed to service over 1,000 children, but only 27 kids are enrolled? What a waste of space. It's interesting to me that the left is always talking about we need to put more money in education, more money in education. And what we're realizing is that education, as we know it in America, the public government education system, it is just a system designed to sop up money and not be a good steward over that money. And it is wasteful spending, because what you're about to discover is the amount of money that's spent to educate these children per child. How is it that these children are graduating high school and they still can't read? Right? Think about how much money the city of Baltimore spends per student. Think about, and then this money doesn't just manifest or grow on trees. This is taxpayer money. This is property tax revenue that you have to pay a portion of your property taxes to go to the school system. And this is where your money is just an abyss of nothingness with no return on investment, but you don't even have a choice. You are forced to work and slave and toil to pay these taxes, because if you don't, you will lose your property. Let me continue. It says, and the school, so not only are there only 27 students enrolled in this big edifice of a school, but the school only employs 28 full-time staff. So now let's just, for giggles, let's assume these full-time staff were all educators. Technically, that's one teacher per student. So that means your student teacher ratio is literally 1-to-1, all things considered. Now, I'm not saying that's the case here, but think about it. I am a home educator. I've been homeschooling my children since they started school. We're about to graduate one, and then I got 3 more right after that. It's one of me and 4 of them. It doesn't get more personalized than the level of educational instruction I can give my own children. Based on the numbers here, if all 28 full-time staff were educators, like teachers, if you only have 27 students enrolled, pretty much every student should have their own teacher, or at minimum, one teacher for every 2 students. Surely the children would be able to exceed the academic basic standards with those numbers. No, that's not the case. At a 3% utilization, it is the emptiest big city school in the country, according to Chicago Policy Center research. Few more facts about this school here at Frederick Douglass. 100% of seniors are categorized as chronically absent, meaning they miss 10% or more of school days. Basically, the graduating class, if that's what you want to call it, they don't show up. Okay, they're like, no, we're done with school. We don't come. Okay, 100%, not 10%, 80%, 100% are categorized as chronically absent. They show up when they feel like it. No 11th grader could read or do math at grade level in school year 2023-2024. You can't blame this on COVID. If you are a junior as of 2023-2024 and you can't read at grade level, even if you experience loss of learning due to COVID 3 years prior or 4 years prior, that, like, if you're in the 11th grade and you can't read or do math at grade level, There's some other deficiencies going on here that started well before this school year did. The school costs $93,000 per student as of school year 2023-2024. In a school district where 1/3 of school buildings sit at least half empty, Douglas illustrates the consequences of poor facilities planning, fewer opportunities for students, and higher costs for taxpayers. Look at this school, y'all. The emptiest big city school in the nation. Now, riddle me this. Some of y'all might be asking, why do they have a school of this size that's designed to, first of all, who paid for this school? And if the school is designed to accommodate over 1,000 students and it's only 27 of them enrolled, how does this happen? I will tell you how this happens. This is leftism at work. This is what progressive Democrat policies are designed to do. Be incredibly inefficient, right? A policy that doesn't work, a program that services and helps no one, but it spends your money. So at your expense, stupid decisions like this are made, and at the end of the day, who is this helping? Think about all of the money that has been sunk into this building to service 27 students. I mean, big government has never been known to be efficient or to do anything well. And see, people got mad when I celebrated Donald Trump's decision to abolish the Department of Education. See, what the brain dead morons in the back who like to come into this chat because they don't understand the way the world works, they got mad when they learned that Donald Trump wanted to abolish the Department of Education, and they heard, like he said that, but this is what they heard. Donald Trump doesn't want children to be educated. Like they won't even be able to go to school. That's what they heard, not understanding that the Department of Education is a modern construct. Prior to the formation of the Department of Education, education was run and managed by the states. The federal government did not get involved. Each local municipality was responsible. They managed their own budget. They didn't have to get, any sort of direction in terms of curriculum or how resources were spent from the federal government. There was no uniform. We're going to teach this in the schools. It was always at the state level. And prior to the formation of the Department of Education, students performed better. They were reading better. Our Americans were smarter. But once you federalize something and the federal government gets involved and then they start determining, okay, well, based on, what the priority becomes, what the teachers union wants and not what the students need. So education decisions, curriculum choices, all of that is predicated not based on what do the students in this local municipality need, but rather the teachers unions are like, well, is my consulting company going to get paid? Because, we spent all this time working on this curriculum and we want this curriculum in every single school. And if you put our curriculum in your school, wink, wink, the teachers union in turn will donate to your political campaign. This is the quid pro quo and the way it works, to where academics takes a back seat. Children are at the bottom. All of the money is coming in, being spent per child. But at the end of the day, how much of that money is actually spent on educating a child? If you gave me $93,000 per kid, listen, I ain't gonna sit here and lie to you. Like it does not cost that much to educate a single pupil. It just doesn't. But this is what happens when big government gets involved and leftist progressive policies are allowed to run amok unchecked. You get inefficiency like this. So there's a video that I want to show you guys.
the school. If a school doesn't need, 3 fourth grade classrooms, they only need 2.
CPS says many of the laid off teachers will likely be rehired, something CTU disputes.
Unfortunately, when our teachers are laid off, a lot of them leave our district because people need job security. And not having that job security and instability causes them to leave the profession.
The budget also calls for a mid-year spending freeze, no funding for assistant principals at schools with enrollment under 250 students, and 162 layoffs at the district central office, which were made public earlier this week. But the budget is not all about cuts. CPS plans to increase funding for bilingual and special education educators.
The budget that we have presented is one that does its absolute best to address the very diverse needs of our students. And so we center this budget around the students and the needs that they have in this given moment.
Ha ha ha. I love the way progressives are Weasley with words, don't you guys? I mean, if you really listen to what they're saying, you really have to read between the lines to figure out what are they trying to say. So I wanted to show you guys that clip because basically this was a news clip that was announcing that Chicago public schools, they're in a serious deficit. Like all of the things and the bells and whistles that Brandon Johnson promised all his educational friends, yeah, he can't make good on none of those promises because he doesn't have the money. Him broke. Him don't have it. And so the district plans to close because they're making a lot of cuts because there's a $732 million deficit. That's how much they don't have. And so teachers are being laid off, many of those which are Black American teachers that were friends of the campaign, who campaigned and voted for Brandon Johnson because he said, I'm going to give y'all raises and I'm going to give y'all this and I'm going to give y'all that. And they said, yay, Brandon Johnson. And none of that happened, right? Like, Brandon has known for about a year that he wrote a check that he couldn't cash, and he's been trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. Is JB Pritzker gonna bail me out? Like I promised the teachers this money, but I don't have the money. You know why? Because I was too busy. Courting the illegals. Yeah, we about to get into that part. So before we get to that part, though, there's a spending freeze, meaning we can't spend any money. If your school has less than what I think they said 200 some odd students enrolled, we can't give you a dime. We are on a freeze. Not only that, they are laying off 162 people at the administrative district level. That's a lot of people. But remember when I said that Brandon Johnson he made these promises to these educators, and because of that, he had the full, total, and complete support of the teachers. Well, now, because he can't make good on that promise, teachers are upset, and we're going to hear from a particular teacher that feels some sort of kind of way. But before we get to that, did y'all notice in the news story, they said, yes, this is bad, but it's not all bad, right? This is not all about cuts. What did they say? The budget miraculously has room to hire bilingual teachers and to make sure that money is allocated for the bilingual people and the special ed students. I said, well, look at that. He did all of that courting of the illegals and let all them illegals in. And now, this is my political theory. Because Brandon Johnson's approval rating is so bad and he already knows the blacks are done with him, he's hoping that all of those illegals that he let in and he gave them the SNAP, gave them the Section 8, cleared out whole schools. Well, no, he didn't clear them out. Schools that were just sat empty to house all these migrants. He's hoping that maybe he can curry some favor with the illegals. And if they find out that, look at all the accommodations they're making for us, like they know we don't speak no English, right? They know these people don't speak English, but isn't it interesting that he can find the money to sink into the resource, which is the educational resource, i.e. a teacher that is bilingual. So what does that mean? If English is your first language, which it should be if you live here in America and you are an American citizen, and you happen to don't know Spanish as a second language, if you're an educator, that means like the job that you would normally compete for, you're out the running for, and someone that may have less tenure than you, but they also speak Spanish, they have more job security than you do. Why is that? Like I said, he's made promises to these illegals and he has made a decision. I have to prioritize the illegals over the blacks because the blacks already mad with me over the property tax situation anyway, and all the other reasons why they're already mad with me. I'm going to hedge my bets, and we're going to do this for the illegals and what is it? The special educational students, which technically based on the academic performance of most of these students should qualify for special ed, at least in my day, right? Like if you couldn't read or write at grade level, or if you were a junior and you were still reading and speaking like a fourth grader, we would say you were special ed. I don't know. I don't even know what the criteria is now, but in my day, most of these juniors that I just talked about would be considered short bus special ed kids. I'm just saying. They found room. Based on what this woman said, we are committed to centering our budget around diverse needs. But notice diverse, what that means. Diverse means the bilinguals, the illegals who now need educational support. Forget about the little black kids. Taquayshawn they don't care if Taquayshawn don't know how to read or write or do math at grade level. Right now, they want little Pablo and they want little Consuela to be the priority now. That is where their loyalty lies. And I know a lot of you are like, April, why are you trying to pit the blacks against the illegals? I'm sorry. That's not me. This is what happened when your former president, Joe Biden, opened up the border and told them to come here. When Kamala was like, yes, you guys can come. And then she had to backtrack like, the border's closed, don't come. It was too late. They rolled out the red carpet to welcome these people here, and now they are obligated to educate these children, and they're doing so now at the expense of your students and at your job as a teacher. Okay? Y'all got to look at this clip, because this is when the mess hit the fan, and I believe a lot of black educators, black leftists and progressives up in Chicago who have not, they don't have the discernment to see that this man is he's a whole clown. And he's the worst thing that could have ever happened to Chicago. But they voted for him. Y'all thought Lori Lightfoot was bad. This man is twice the son of hell as Lori Lightfoot was. He is infinitely worse. But what makes him so bad is he is thoroughly committed to his bad ideas. He is such a Marxist and a communist through and through, in my opinion, that he believes his BS. He is high off his own supply. Like, he will explain defunding the police and reimagining police, and he thinks this makes sense to him. This budget deficit and giving the money to illegals, and now he don't have the money to make good on the promises. Socialism and Marxism and a whole communist framework never works. But to get black people to understand that, it's almost like they have to experience it in real time to say, oh, snap. This was a scam. We did get hustled. This man lied to us. And I don't understand why you didn't get it, because you have history that you can learn from to demonstrate that, you know what, this hasn't worked anywhere it's ever been tried. Why would I believe that it's going to work now? So take a listen to this clip. This is called when a person experiences cognitive dissonance and they're still grappling and struggling with the reality of their decision to vote blue no matter who. Listen to this clip.
My name is Iris Moore. I'm from Austin College Career Academy. I went from a seeker, I did my student teaching, and now I'm a second-year teacher up until I got a letter, an email stating that I no longer had my position. Every year I'm nervous about losing my position. And I think it's very unfair considering that I had started a cheerleader team and this was hard. I broke down in front of my cheerleaders just to tell them that I was no longer employed. When you build a community with your students and then you have to disappoint them and see their faces, when you tell them that you no longer return it, they lose their trust within you. I won't let them down because CPS has let me down. CPS always had these programs about residential teachers coming in. How you want to build a teacher up to just snatch their position because you lost money? And that's not fair. This is my livelihood. I feel an educator is the most important job. We are the reason you are the state representative, the senator, a part of Congress. It's because of an educator that inspired you in some shape, form, or fashion. Start allocating the money the proper way, proper resources for people.
Okay. All right. I highlighted this story. This is very sad, and I have empathy, and I can balance empathy with truth. So bear with me as I demonstrate that I understand her frustration, and no one likes living the anxiety of not knowing if today is your last day, if you're gonna lose your job. Like, I've got friends, whether it was people who work for TSA or people who are in other positions that at one point used to be one of the most stable jobs in the country. Like, to be a teacher, if you weren't safe, nobody was safe. Teachers used to be one of the most recession-proof, safe careers out there because at the end of the day, you always knew children have to be educated and good teachers are in high demand, right? Well, that is no longer the case. And I feel bad that this woman has to live on edge. The constant anxiety of wondering if you're going to get cut now or get cut later. The frustration, like she said, this is my livelihood. And I had to go to my cheerleaders and explain to them that I'm not coming back due to cuts. I can empathize with her and in the same breath, explain to her that her anger and her frustration is misplaced. This is not a CPS issue. This is a Democrat issue. And the reason why this is a Democrat issue is because Democrats are notorious for not properly allocating resources properly. The very last thing she said was, why won't you allocate the money in a proper way so that this doesn't happen? Well, I can answer that. Democrats like to make promises that they cannot keep. They're never interested in balancing a budget. But what they do is they dangle a juicy carrot in front of you and say, if you vote for us, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, and we'll give you all the riches in the world if you just bow down and worship us. Right? Sound familiar? The only problem with that is their math never maths. They can never explain and articulate how they're going to pay for something without raising your taxes. They have no experience in what it means to generate revenue outside of a tax base, meaning they don't know how to attract industry, right? They don't know how to make their communities pleasing and pleasant and attractive to where people want to come and invest. They don't have a concept of that. Give me one quick second, you guys. No. What am I doing? I was going to do something. I had a brain fart. Sorry. They don't know how to balance a budget to infuse capital without spend. All they know is we spend more of your money. We don't steward or shepherd it well. And because we already know that Democrat voters are not going to hold us accountable, that we'll just get reelected and we'll stay in a deficit. We'll stay in a deficit. They don't solve problems. To be a good Democrat, failure it's part of the package. It's part of the job description. As long as you remain a perpetual failure as a Democrat politician, you always have a problem to campaign on so that people will vote for you. And I don't understand why Democrat voters haven't figured this out yet. But no worries. I ain't from the government, but I am here to help. Listening to this woman explain and talk about how hurtful this was for her, the problem is she has a fundamental misunderstanding, thinking that this is a Chicago public school problem. No, this is a progressive Democrat politician problem, because they all think this way. They all make promises that they can't keep. None of them know how to balance a budget well, or they know how to spend. They don't know how to save or conserve or raise money. On top of the fact, this woman has gone through all of these things to get these credentials and then to teach, only to find out that they got to be like, how do you mess things up so bad that one of the most secure professions in the country, if you decide to be a teacher, that now your job is at risk because you are in a budget deficit that's so bad that the only way to ameliorate and correct it is you got to lay teachers off, but somehow you found money to invest in the bilingual students, meaning, okay, so instead of putting students first and then teachers first, you put the needs of all those illegal aliens that you let into your city first, because you're a sanctuary city and that's where your commitment lies. Do you see how the priorities of the progressive politician are so out of order that they don't give a darn about you? They don't care that you got to go and cry to your cheerleaders and say you're not coming back. They don't care. Brandon Johnson made a lot of promises to all of his educational cronies, and he can't make good on those promises. The best he could do is carve out some money for educators who are bilingual, who going to want to teach some Spanish kids English. Because, hear me clearly, I don't even believe they're interested in really teaching them English. I think they want to educate these children in their native language, which prevents them from assimilating as Americans, because the progressive politician is anti-American. So anything that's going to naturalize and assimilate these children of immigrants into an American way of life, they're not going to do that. So they need you to be bilingual so you can communicate with the Spanish speakers, but it ain't to teach them English. In my opinion, that's what I believe. It would go against the whole Marxist framework. They hate America. So this woman has explained how she feels, and I hate to break it to her. This is not a CPS problem. This is a Democrat problem that is being rinsed and repeated in other local municipalities, and your cries are falling on deaf ears, unfortunately.